Wake up. Everyone is looking for a convincing story that gives them a sense of purpose. We have one. People are precious. Your life counts. You can thrive. When we know who we are, we know what to do. We believe in new beginnings and second chances. In a joy that overcomes. In a love that endures. We are participating in the restoration of all things. God is love. God is on your side. God keeps no record of wrongs. God is in you. Jesus reveals God's heart. Jesus offers us a revolutionary way of living that we are choosing to follow. We enter this sacred space through faith, hope, and love. Faith is your decision to place your belief and trust in the goodness and faithfulness of God. Hope is the confident expectation that the last word has not been spoken. Love is felt, received, and done. We have been to hell and back and found it's not there, and discovered heaven is where we begin. Welcome to our house.
Hello, and welcome to Q tonight. It's a glorious day out there, and the very fact that you're with us is wonderful because you chose to be here. How lovely. Thank you, we really appreciate that. We're also thrilled to feature Yada. That's our dance academy here at Q, and that opening number was awesome, wasn't it? Weren't they amazing? They keep coming up with the goods. They're an amazing academy, and you've just been watching there about Southgate, and that's going to be a little bit of the subject tonight. What a week, eh? You know, we've got the football World Final today, we've got Wimbledon going on this afternoon, quite a sporty day. And hasn't there been some interesting things go on? Now, what's interesting is that in this place over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the heroic journey and how all of us embark on this from the moment we're born to the moment that we die. But within it, there are opportunities to actually journey into ourselves to find out who we really are. And instead of becoming embittered and very unhappy in our lives, we can actually become very humble and very wise and realize that we're here to change the world. Now, I think some of us are interested in that, don't you? So we've done that 3 weeks, and for those of you who haven't been here, it doesn't matter. But culmination tonight, we're able to bring a wonderful subject matter based on Gareth Southgate. Now, I'm not a football fan, but I knew of his story, and what's gone on this week has been quite amazing. And what I'd like to say at this point is, when we think about the Bible and parables and stories, Jesus only used stuff that was going on in his day and things that were going on around him to speak to the people to say, I can tell you an amazing truth by telling you this story. And that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to tell a story just like once upon a time there was a man. And then we're going to look at the story and say, how can that affect my life? And what does that mean to me? And what does that demand of me? And, you know, what can I bring to my world? So, we're going to have a great night tonight. And as I say, I'm glad that you're here. I actually believe that the subject matter is incredible. And I just want to thank everybody who's helped. Kev, Connor, Steve particularly, who's helped because, you know, in Danny's absence, you know, sometimes the technicals are a bit difficult. But you know what? We are a great team and we're pulling it out of the bag tonight. It's a bit different, but it's going to be amazing. So you kids, you haven't got Life Zone at the end, but make sure to look at the couple of videos that we've got for you are amazing. And they really do reinforce the message that we're trying to bring, that there are no unredeemable mistakes in our life. Now, I know some of you say, oh, yes, they are. Well, I'm going to say categorically, no, there aren't. And you might think that whatever has gone on in your life, there is no redemption. But I promise you that there is. And you kids and you adults alike are going to get a great lesson today, mixed in with great creative dance and videos, etc., and an excellent word from Anth, and you're going to have a great time. And remember, at the end, we're staying for the football, and we're going to have hot dogs, etc., and popcorn if you want to stay. So one last thing before we move on. You don't have to, quote, do anything tonight, but you can do anything. Does that make sense? You can sit, you can stand, you can clap, you can do whatever you want, but what we want you to be is relaxed and enjoy, because the way that we receive, isn't it, is always when we just relax and don't feel that there is any pressure for you to be anything you don't want to be. So we welcome you, we're glad you're here, and just sit, stand, whatever, enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
To the dark, hide away, they say, we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are, but won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching out to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me, oh, oh, another round of bullets hits my skin. We'll fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shit sink in. We are bursting through the barricade, reaching for the sun.
We are warriors.
That's what we've
Yeah, that's what we've
become.
become. Won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words gonna cut me down, gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching out to the beat I
This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
Look out, 'cause here I go.
Look out, 'cause here I come.
And I'm marching on to the beat I drum.
I'm marching
I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Whoa.
Poor Chicken Little. Oh. Some of you are not familiar with the film. It's a great film. When you have grandkids, the one thing is you get to watch these like 15 times in a row, which is fab. But Chicken Little thought the sky was falling, and in some ways, if you watch the movie, he turned out to be right. But of course, that not occurring, he was ridiculed because it was considered what he'd done was failed, and his dad's telling him, just keep a low profile. I like the subject matter tonight. One of the things that recently has impressed me, even about from a Christian perspective, reading the Bible, is how little Jesus preached from the Bible. Jesus actually said there was this guy who was on the road from York to Leeds, and he had an accident. It was that kind of story, and we've got that kind of vibe tonight. The interesting thing is that many people talk about redeeming the past. Have you ever heard that phrase when people talk about the need to redeem the past because of stuff that's happened with all of us, or stuff we regret, or things that we failed in, and trying to redeem the past? Well, the bad news is you can't. The past is the past, and there is absolutely nothing whatsoever you can do to change it. Now, some of you are like me. You'll go through mental and emotional gymnastics, turning things over and over again in your mind, hoping that somehow by the time you've thought about it all night and worried about it all day, that somehow at the end of that you get a different outcome, and you don't. Because you can't redeem the past. Past 3 weeks we've been talking about life will either develop you or destroy you. Now that's true for every one of you that's here tonight, everybody listening online. The past will either, your life will either develop or destroy you. But it's not the power that lies within life itself that does that, but it's the power that lies within us. And it's kind of our response to all that stuff that's going on around us. And the truth is, there are no exception passes. You can't put in a ticket to say, oh, I just pass on life, forget me, I'm going to get an exception. It happens to all of us. Now, of course, the Chicken Little thing is, Dad says to him, just lay low, son, until it all blows over. And I've tried that, and it never does. I don't know if you've tried it, or are going to try it, or are thinking of trying it, or in the middle of trying it right now. But when you lay low, the truth is, it never does blow over, because laying low until it blows over is never an answer for the heart. It's just really an avoidance. Now, my sport, actually, my major sport is not football. I'll watch a bit of competition football, but actually I'm a big rugby league fan. And there's a gentleman by the name of Don Fox who had two brothers, Peter and Neil, and they are rugby league legends from when I was a kid. And in the 1968 Rugby League Challenge Cup final, Wakefield Trinity were playing Leeds Rhinos, and it got down to the last minute, and Wakefield Trinity were behind, and they scored a try right in the last minute. And the pitch was sodden, it had been pouring down with rain, it was just ridiculous. But all Don Fox had to do, it was the last kick of the match, it was right in front of the posts, and all Don Fox had to do was kick it over the post, get the conversion, and Wakefield Trinity would have won the 1968 Rugby League Challenge Cup final. And he came up to the ball right in front of the post, and he missed the kick. And the whistle blew, and the game was lost, and he slumped to his knees on the ground. There is a documentary about that and about how that affected Don Fox. And his brother Peter said Don could never get it out of his mind. He could never forget it because he felt not only had he let himself down, but he let all his teammates down who would have had a winner's medal, but instead they got a loser's medal because he missed the kick. And he took so much responsibility for that he retired soon after that from his rugby league career, but struggled with depression all of his life and died with all kinds of mental issues, and it all rooted back to that missed kick, that one simple thing, that missed kick. I let them down. I didn't succeed. I failed. And there was nothing Don Fox could do to redeem the past because the past is the past. That kick was missed no matter what he thought or what he felt. And he never truly recovered from that incident. The truth is as well, there were no mechanics in place then at the time to really address the issue of the mental torment that he was going through. So the question is, can you believe that there are no unredeemable mistakes in your life? I suppose a better question is, will you believe that there are no unredeemable mistakes in your life? You may not be able to redeem the past, but what about the future? See, that's the point. You can never redeem the past, but the question is, what about the future? See, there's a wonderful secret. If you'll own the present, you're at the doorway of redeeming the future. You can own your failure today, realizing that the failure was yesterday, knowing that there's a way to redeem your tomorrows. And so I'll continue this a bit later, but here's what happened to poor old Gareth Southgate after his semi-final penalty miss, which took England out of Euro 96.
Miss, Pizza Hut pan pizzas, unless I'm mistaken. Thank you, Miss. Come on, Gareth, it only took me 6 years to get over it. Have some pan pizza.
Pan pizza from Pizza Hut. A light, fluffy base with a crispy crust smothered with generous toppings.
Thanks a lot, boys. I feel much better now.
This time he's at the post.
Pizza Hut pan pizza. It always hits the spot.
Okay, I'm back again. We were going to do something special for somebody particular tonight, but unfortunately that particular person hasn't made it either with the weather or because of the time or whatever, and it's very unusual. I'm not going to tell you it is because it'll still be a surprise next week when we do it. However, what I wanted to deal with in the context of that was the issue that I used to hear a phrase growing up that sometimes you can be so heavenly minded that you know earthly good. And we've talked for the last 3 weeks about the heroic journey. The heroic journey is first of all the part where you're the hero of your own story. It's full of ego and dream and fantasy and possibility. And then you hit this point in life that we call the crisis of limitation, where suddenly you realize you might not be who you thought you were, and people are not who you thought they were, and things are not what you thought they would be. And suddenly you have this issue of dealing with life. And then we talked about the third part of the journey, which is called wisdom's journey, which is where we learn humility because we realize that even those wounds in our life, when they become sacred, they make us something that make us realize who we truly are. It's the conclusion of an inward journey, not an outward journey. And of course, there were 2 points on that we mentioned as well. If you don't make the turn from the heroic journey to the crisis of limitations, you just become an old fool because you're ignoring the reality of life. And we don't have any doctrine or philosophy that asks you to do that. But then from there, you also need to make another turn into humility. And that turn we call the recognition of sacred wounds. If you don't make that turn, the truth is you go on to an embittered journey. You become bitter and frustrated and judgmental, looking for somebody to blame for how your life turned out. And sometimes that can be you. However, there are heroes. And for all of us, there are heroes. Now, heroes are flesh and blood. There is no Superman. Sorry, kids, cover your ears. There's not really a Superman. Batman, Spider-Man. All the superhero films, yeah, they're wonderful, but they're fantasy. They're not real, but there are real heroes in life. The problem is often we don't stop to realize who those heroes are and to say thank you, because you've been a hero in my life. Some of you need to take the time this week to find who's been a hero in your life and go and tell them, thank you, you've been a hero to me. Often heroes are so humble in their approach that they don't feel that they've done any good for anybody or helped anybody. And it's good for you to tell them, you've been a hero to me, you've helped me. This particular person that I want to honor next week has been a hero to me in a very quiet but substantial way, because has understood what it means to be faithful and to be loyal and to serve, and always done it behind the scenes and never looked for accolade or for praise or for position, but has always done it and been faithful, and is an absolute hero to me. We've got people in this place who have been through the most arduous of circumstances. We've got parents who've had to bury their children. Now, for me, I can't think of anything more out of order and worse than a parent having to bury a child. How sad. And yet we've got heroes in here who've walked that journey and been through and have contribution and something to say, because their life has remained faithful and their faith has remained constant, and they've remained sweet and not bitter. They've remained helpful and not obstructive. And the heroes, people like Betty Wright and other people like that who've walked those journeys and been that people. So as the person who's not here tonight, who I was going to present with a little gift because of that, but we'll do that next week, and I'm not telling you it is, so we can still keep it more or less a surprise. Can I just encourage you this week to notice who's been the heroes in your life, the person who's helped you, helped to shape you, got you through that difficult time, and tell them. Just say, thank you, you've been a hero to me. Okay?
Good afternoon, everybody. I trust you're having a fantastic time at QChurch today. Excellent. Well, everything we do here at Q is powered by the generosity of people like you. So thank you. If you'd like to support Q today, then feel free to use the envelopes in front of you to contribute to our weekly Pay It Forward offering this afternoon. Any checks can go out to Q York, or you can give online at qyork.co.uk and hit donate. Here's what's going on this week at Q. Following today's service, we'll be showing the World Cup final at 4 p.m. on this very screen, accompanied by drinks and hot dogs that will be available at the kiosk in the foyer. Due to the holidays, the Q York office is now closed until the 19th of July. If you need to get in touch with anyone, then please contact us through the website qyork.co.uk. On Mondays and Thursdays, our clothing outlet offers a great selection of clothes for those who are in need. If you have anything to donate, then please contact us. On Tuesday morning from 10 o'clock, You and Your Little Ones is a great place to relax over a cuppa with other parents, whilst your preschool little ones play in a fun and safe environment. It costs £2 per child. On Wednesday afternoon from 2 o'clock, you can dance to a wonderful selection of Latin and ballroom music and meet new people over a cuppa and a biscuit. Entry is £4 per person. Now, Wednesday evening at 7:30 is IQ, which is our midweek get-together with a focus on developing an intelligent faith. This week will be an opportunity for a catch-up before the summer break, as we have a refresher on the journey of Q, and entry is free. At 2 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, the lovely John Band hosts a great social get-together for those aged 55 and over, with quizzes, games and refreshments. Entry is free. Friday evening at 7:30, our Urban Live team are running our games night at Roundtrees Park for 11 to 17-year-olds. If you're interested, meet at church at 7:15 p.m. and entry is £2. Now, this is a notice to take care, because here at Q we are proud to be an inclusive community and we are all sharing a public space. So please take care of your precious possessions, otherwise some cheeky monkey might take care of them instead. Parking. This is a friendly reminder to ask that we all display our Q York parking permits clearly in our cars. This will help our stewards know which car belongs to which person and help them help us make our limited parking space as useful as possible. Other side effects of your parking cooperation may include reduced blood pressure and increased life expectancy. To find out any more about what's going on at Q, just go to qyork.co.uk and click on What's On. Now, Q needs you. because Q is a collection of people that get together to inspire one another. So what is inspiring you? Please send us your pictures, videos, songs, stories, whatever inspires you to ideas@qyork.co.uk, and that may just become part of what we pull together on a Sunday afternoon. We've got some great plans for August coming up, one of which includes an activity involving magazines and newspapers. So if you've got some magazines and newspapers hanging around at home, then instead of throwing them into recycling, please bring them along to us because they'll be really useful for what we do on that day. All that remains for me to say is have a lovely afternoon, and we hope to see you again soon.
What do you do when you've done all you can and it seems like you can't make it through? Yeah, what do you say when your friends turn away and you're all alone? Tell me, what do you give when you've given your all and it seems like you can't make it through? Well, you just stand. When there's nothing left to do, you just stand. Watch the Lord see you through. Yes, after you've done all you can, you just stand.
I love the fact that even in reflection of what has been, he said, but this is a new day. What if today's a new day for you? What if you make the right decision, choices, allow the right thing to come in, that this could be a new day for you? Of course, a lot of what we've been talking about bases around something that some of you are not even old enough to remember, or for some of you it would be vague, which is that we reached the semi-finals of Euro 96. And we were facing our arch enemy, Germany. And in the semi-final went to penalties, and poor old Gareth Southgate missed his penalty. And as the only penalty misser in the whole thing, of course, what that meant was that we were out, we weren't going to make the final, and of course that's where all the ridicule came in. Of course, thankfully back then we didn't have social media. However, he did receive a few death threats, and of course had things like that to Pizza Hut. Advertisement made about him, everybody mocking him and making fun. But that's what makes the story quite significant about about Gareth, and the issue is that's what's made him the man that he is today. Let me read you something that somebody wrote online this week. We've all become acutely aware of the imminent return home of football. Those three words, shared, memed, passed like whispered, sweet nothings between discreet lovers, have taken over our lives since Tuesday night's penalty shootout victory over Colombia. That England won a penalty shootout is amazing, but it happened under the tenure of Gareth Southgate is nigh impossible. No man, no individual personifies the national obsession with penalty shootout failure like the waistcoated, softly spoken English manager. It was he who missed the original penalty, the one that reversed original homeward truck of football away from Dover, rolling a weak effort into the waiting arms of Andreas Kopka and allowing the Germans to punt England out of Euro 96. Let me take you back to that day, the 26th of June, 1996. I was 6, sat cross-legged on my living room floor. England, believe it or not, were not awful at penalties. They had a 1-1 record. The one victory having come 4 days earlier against Spain. Stuart Pearce, the proto Southgate, had avenged his miss in the 1990 World Cup with an emphatic finish against the Spanish. England were, I repeat, not useless at penalties before. They'd actually scored all 4 against Spain and all of the first 5 against Germany. It was only Gareth Southgate who missed. He created a paralysis, a mental block that lasted the next 4 shootouts, which they should lose all of them. The pariah status came overnight. Though Batty, Ince, Beckham, Vassell, Lampard, Gerrard, Carragher, Young and Ashley Cole have all missed since, they are not as synonymous with failure as Southgate. They didn't get Pizza Hut adverts because they didn't need them. I've learned a million things from that day and the years that followed it, Southgate told media recently. When something goes wrong in your life, it doesn't finish you, and you should become braver. Knowing that you've got to go for things in life and don't regret because you didn't try to be as good as you might be. In many ways, it needed Southgate to break the streak. No man could have succinctly told his players just what to do or not to in such situations. Their cross is one that is been born for 22 years. I love the way they describe it as the cross that they've borne. When Henderson missed, he joined that long list above in people who are not Gareth Southgate, but have Southgate there for them to take the flak. As for the man himself, this is his redemption. He took the job because nobody wanted it, and with no expectations and the simple task of making the team better than they were before. Whatever the result on Saturday, he has done that. This is a team in his image, humble, understated, and calm. For himself, the redemption is complete. He's no longer that guy that missed the penalty. Isn't that great? His most notable achievement was that he missed a penalty and we went out of the competition. But this wonderful word called redemption. Now, again, I want you to understand, he could not redeem the past, no matter how much he imagined or dreamed or thought about or retook that penalty in his mind in 1996, he still missed. But you see, what Gareth Southgate did, which is a great parable, is instead of dwelling on the miss of the past, he determined to take hold of the present and own it in the present, but not let owning it stop him from believing that he could redeem the future. It's not about what happened in the past, but it's about what can happen from this moment out. And so dear old Gareth Southgate in his waistcoat took the England job that people call the poison chalice, and he has become a national hero who'll probably finish up getting a knighthood even though he hasn't won the World Cup, because now he's loved. You see, that's the power of redemption. That's the story of redemption. I love the terminology which I said to you when I read it. Their cross is one that he has borne for 22 years. Sometimes you got to take up your cross. A guy called Jesus said, you need to take up your cross and follow me. Not because he was morbid or insane, but because he said, I'm going to show you how to deal with the failures of the past, to embrace in the moment and own what has happened, but so that you can redeem the future, which the Bible calls resurrection, or life from the dead, or new birth, or new beginnings. What I loved about Gareth Southgate, if any of you watched the shootout against Colombia, and we had a little bit of it on our video at the front, was the very first thing he did after the game was not leap up and down, wave an England flag, run to all his players and congratulate them. What did he do first? The first thing he did was went to the two Colombia players who'd missed their penalty and hugged them and consoled them. Why? Because he knows what it feels like to be in the position where the expectation is great and to fail, but to pick yourself up now and become something. How many of you know he had a word for those two guys? Not, listen, look at today and see your failure of today, but look at what has happened with me. To me, that's the essence of the gospel. It's the essence of the whole story of this guy called Jesus, who comes and suffers like we do in our world, so that when he sees us miss, he puts his arms around us and says, this can all be different. There can be a redemption here to change the story. No social media back then. The hatred of a nation was unleashed. Chicken Little had the hatred of a town. Neither could redeem the past, but both owned the present, and in so doing, redeemed the future. In the whole story of the heroic journey that we've been covering these last 3 weeks, through the shock of the crisis of limitations, into the invitation to walk wisdom's journey, we face the challenge that the most critical journey of our lives is not the outward journey, but the inward journey. If I could give you one word of advice from my life, most of you are trying to fix yourself outwardly. By doing stuff, by trying to get stuff, by changing a relationship, by changing a job, by thinking if I get more money, if I win the lottery, if people just like me, if I'm just the heart and soul of the party. And all the time what you're trying to do is fix something inside by doing something outside. Here's a word of wisdom from a 62-year-old who looks like 30. It doesn't work. It's never worked. It won't work. Part of our issue is to help you, not to stop you having a wonderful outward journey, but to help you to understand that does not fix what's on the inside. You have to make the inward journey. The inward journey owns today the failures of yesterday, but realizes and understands that the future, the tomorrow, can now be redeemed, so we are living in a different day and we have a new day. Now, all of that hinges on something very important, which is the story that we tell ourselves. How many of you know we all tell ourselves a story? Often we're telling ourselves a story that's not true. A lot of you are legends in your own lunchtime. That's the story you're telling yourself about how flipping amazing you are and how the world's just waiting for you and you're the answer to everything. How many of you know that's probably not going to be true and you'll meet the place of limitation? But others of you are telling yourself the story, I'm rubbish. I failed before, I've failed again. I've not been loved, I am not loved, I will never be loved. I will never be accepted because I haven't been accepted. I will not be approved of because I have not been approved of. And we begin to tell ourselves a story, and then we begin to live out the story that we're telling ourselves, because that's the story that's oozing out of us. How many of you know if you keep telling yourself you're unlovable, the likelihood is you'll find most people don't seem to love you, because the vibe that's coming off you is, I'm unlovable. You see, what's the story you're telling yourself? I believe one of the primary things Jesus came to do was to reintroduce us to God's story about ourselves, as opposed to our story about ourselves. And I want you to buy into that story of your value, your worth, and the fact that there are no unredeemable mistakes in your life, and you cannot redeem the past. But if you will own the present, you can redeem the future. And that's going to take a miracle. But miracles happen when you do that, because England winning a penalty shootout in a major competition is a miracle. And you can have a better miracle than that. The truth is, every story needs a hero or two. And I say or two because most often we're not enough in ourselves. Have you ever noticed that? You can be the hero of your own story, but we're not enough in ourselves. We need a hero or two. That's why the Marvel comics became so popular and so famous. Because we all need a hero or two. That's where, for me, my faith in God and my faith in Christ is important to me, because whatever hero I think that I am and whatever is redeemed in my life, it's all been because I have another hero outside of myself who's able to do the things I couldn't do, be what I couldn't be, and help me to believe what I never could believe. I want to introduce you to the hero outside of yourself. I believe faith in God is important, and I believe that Jesus is still important today. So we had an hashtag. The hashtag that's been going around is Be More Southgate. I want to use that as a parable today. Be more Southgate. Be like that. Let that be the parable. But that bring you to the place of knowing that your future can be redeemed. And it doesn't have to be the same, and your life can change. For those of you who like Bible, and I like Bible too, but there's some verses in the Bible I just want to read as I close tonight. It's in a psalm, it's in Psalm 103, and it says this: Bless the Lord, O my soul. All that is within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Forget not all his benefits, because we can forget what's hanging around us, what's there for us. Who forgives all your iniquities, your penalty misses, who heals all your diseases, the mental stress and anxiety that comes from the penalty misses, who redeems your life from destruction. Remember Don Fox? He never made it through. But I want you to have your life redeemed from that kind of destruction, so that you're crowned with loving kindness and tender mercies, so that your mouth is satisfied with good things. And here it says, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. I want you to have a new day, but it comes when you embrace the redemption process for you, and I want you to receive it tonight. Is it all right if I pray for you now? Okay, Father, I pray that redemption will touch every life in this place tonight, a very real sense, a very real experience of the hero beyond ourselves, so that as we recognize that we cannot redeem the past, but as we own our present and recognize our need, thank you, our future is redeemed, not because of what we do, but because of what you have done for us. Help us to receive that and accept, and let today, for many lives in here, be a new day, a day of promise, and a time to win. In Jesus' name, amen. We got one more dance and then we're through.